What did that Champions League run mean to you?
Ah, you know, it's it's hard to put into words right now because I think it's so fresh, and still, still today, there's a bit of regret because I think we all thought that we had a real chance of going through, but in football, it doesn't always go as planned. But yeah, I think when you look back at the top teams we played, some of the results we had, and to finish in the top eight of the Champions League, I think maybe in a couple of months when we look back, we're gonna say this was something amazing, unheard of.
This is the best you've played, you think, for your club? I mean, I know you've won a league title, and I know you've scored big goals before for Lille, but this run, this season, take all the contract stuff away. How do you feel about your game?
No, I feel good. I feel good. I think what helps is obviously me performing and scoring goals, in the Champions League. I think that I had good seasons, like the season I'm having now, but the difference is that I'm scoring and performing in the Champions League. So there's a lot more eyes on me and what I'm doing.
But you invested in yourself heavily, right? Like you have a trainer, dietitian. Like why, it's easy to understand why you'd want to do those things. But what kind of benefit have you gotten out of it? And maybe how has it changed your mindset about where you are in your career and the details that get you to that next level?
Yeah, I think, when you play at the highest level, you need to be ready and perform every 3 days. It's not once a week, you play every 3 days. And it requires a lot from the body, from the mind. So at that point, every detail matters, how you sleep, how you eat, how you recover, how you train. So I think putting myself in the best positions possible to succeed is what I'm supposed to do. A career is not very long, it's 15, if you're lucky, 20 years. It's not long, a career in a lifetime, so you have to make the most out of it.
And in terms of success, though, that comes with attention. And I know you're never going to run right to a microphone or a camera, but there's going to be a lot more attention on you in the coming months. With Canada, and we'll talk about that, but specifically with your club future. How do you manage that? How do you manage, everyone wants to know where Jonathan David is going. I mean, I know I've asked you a bunch of times, I know I've talked about it a bunch of times, but how do you deal with that mentally, knowing how significant the next few months are going to be?
Yeah, I know, it's important times in my life, in my career. But, I don't really pay too much attention to that. I let more of my agent, handle that stuff. After what I can control is how I perform on the pitch, what I do to help my team win, and how I perform individually. And the rest, I'm not too bothered or too worried about that because I believe that, if life has a way of going and I'm ready for anything.
But you're also human. Like, have you never thought about what you might look like in another jersey? What you might look like in a jersey that is known all over the world? And what you might look like in playing for some of the most famous clubs in the world? Like, do you allow, does the Iceman kind of start to feel those feelings a little bit?
No, I don't think it's now that I start having those feelings. I think since I started being a pro, even before I was a pro, you always imagine yourself wearing the best club in the world where you wear their jerseys. I think it's a dream that every player has. After the thing is maybe now you can't go outside anymore, just to have a walk without anyone recognizing you. I think that's the biggest difference.
How would you deal with that, you think? How would you deal with a life where there's a lot more attention on you? I mean, your name is, you've been on the cover of L'Equipe a bunch of times. Sky Sports has talked about you a bunch of times, to say nothing about how much we've talked about you in Canada. Like, just knowing your personality, has that been hard to get used to?
Uh, Not really. I would say not really because I don't really put myself out there. If I were to, then maybe possibly harder, but so far so good.
What does coming back here with this team, though, do for you? Like, what does it do for you mentally?
Yeah, it's it's always a breath of fresh air. It's club environment is very different from international. You're there every day and there's pressure every day to perform. And not to say there's not pressure here, of course, there is because we want to achieve great things here. But it's just getting out of that, everyday routine and changing a bit, seeing different faces, seeing different sceneries, seeing guys that you haven't seen for I don't know, it's been 3, 4, 5 months. So, it changes the air, everything is a bit different.
It changes the way you play too. I mean, Jesse has talked about this. He asks you to do a lot more things than you might do with your club. And it's not a commentary on what you do with Lille versus Canada, but that faith that he's put into you. What have you felt about your game and how it's grown since he's become the manager and since he's asked you to do and be involved more in the way the team defends, and the way the team builds up play, and the way the team attacks, and obviously your job, which is scoring?
Yeah, obviously it's a great honor, of course, to have the coach put this trust in me and to help the team in every aspect of the game. Hasn't been, of course, easy. It's a change of mindset, a change of, different tactics because obviously I don't play the same position at my club. And it's also a different mindset of how the way we play and everything. So it always takes a couple of days to get used to. But I think, it's something that I'm capable of doing. And if I wasn't able to, I don't think he would put me in that position. So I think every time I step onto the pitch, it's to do my best in the job that I'm required to do and to help my team.
When he calls you one of the smartest players he's ever coached, one of the most capable players that he's ever coached, what does that mean to you? Have you heard him say that to you? Because he certainly said that to us in the media, but when you hear that, what does that mean to you?
It's very flattering because I know he's worked with a lot of great players in the world. And for me, it's great to hear because I also like to think that I'm a smart player when I play. I like to think about in what position I'm getting and sometimes thinking ahead of the game, already the next play. So yeah, it's very flattering and it's always great to hear.
Are you getting close to your best? What does Jonathan David's best look like?
I'm not sure I even know. I think right now I'm playing good, but I think I have levels that I can reach even. I'm not sure I know, but I'm just looking to work hard every day to try to get better and to achieve those levels.
I've been around the country quite a bit since Copa, and I have seen Jonathan David jerseys now. What does that mean to you? Have you seen that on social media? Have you seen what you're starting to mean to a whole new generation of Canadian soccer fans as we get closer to the World Cup? Like, does that affect you at all when you see that?
No, it doesn't affect me. I think it gives me great pride, great honor to know that I'm doing something good for my country, doing something good for the sport in the country, and making it, if you can say, more popular, making younger kids want to play and become a professional also. For me, everything about that is a positive, and ultimately it's only gonna make our country better.